Hi, first graders. Yesterday you read Lily's Purple Plastic Purse for the first time, and we made predictions about what was going to happen in our story. And then we also talked about Lily in the beginning of the story and how she acted and what she said and did. And then we also talked about Lily at the end of the story. So today we're going to finish our reading for the week. So you're going to work on your last 2 pages of Lily's Purple Plastic Purse, and we're actually, just like we did with the dot, we're going to read it again. And remember, Ms. Strohmeyer told you that good readers read a book more than once. We never just read a book one time and toss it to the side. Ms. Strohmeyer has books, big adult books, that I have read more than once. And it's a really great thing to do as a reader because you always notice something the second time around that you didn't notice the first time, and it helps us to become a more fluent reader, which means that we can read the book more confidently, we know the words, and we kind of get in a pattern of reading them. So I encourage you with your paper books that you have at home, please read them way more than once, and those books are really going to help you become a stronger reader. But today I'm going to model reading Lily's Purple Plastic Purse again for the second time, and we're going to stop in the middle of our story and work on a page, and then at the end of the story we'll work on the last one. Now, yesterday my book was a little bit nicer. It was one of Miss Northcutt's pretty hardback books, and today I have my old version of Lily's Purple Plastic Purse, and as you can tell, it's kind of almost falling apart. So we're going to hope that all the pages stay together while Miss Strohmeyer reads today. But right now, all I want you to do is turn on your listening ears. I'm going to kind of move me so that you guys can see my book. Please turn on your listening ears. Please have your reading ready to go so that you are able to work on that when we pause. So I'm ready to read to you again, Lily's Purple Plastic Purse. And make sure you're paying very close attention, friends, for something maybe that you didn't notice on the first day of school. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually fold it backwards so that I can show you just one page at a time. Lily loved school. Loved school. She loved the pointy pencils. She loved the squeaky chalk. And she loved the way her books went, or her boots, not her books. She loved the way her boots went clickety-clickety-click down the shiny hallways. Lily loved the privacy of her very own desk. She loved the fish sticks and chocolate milk every Friday in the lunchroom. And most of all, she loved her teacher, Mr. Slinger. I hope you all love me as much as Lily loves Mr. Slinger. Mr. Slinger was as sharp as a tack. He wore artistic shirts. He wore glasses on a chain around his neck, and he wore a different colored tie for each day of the week. Wow, said Lily. That was just about all she could say. Wow. Instead of saying, "Greetings, students," or "Good morning, pupils," Mr. Slinger would wink and say, "Howdy." He thought that desks in rows were old-fashioned and boring. "Do you rodents think that you can handle a circle?" he said. And he always provided the most tasty snacks, things that were curly and crunchy and cheesy. "I want to be a teacher when I grow up," said Lily. "Me too," said all of her friends, Chester, Wilson, and Victor. At home, Lily would pretend to be Mr. Slinger. "I am the teacher," she told her baby brother Julius. "Listen up." Lily even wanted her own set of encyclopedias. "What is with Lily?" asked her mother. "I thought she wanted to be a surgeon or an ambulance driver or a diva," said her father. "It must be because of her new teacher, Mr. Slinger," said her mother. "Wow," said her father. And that was about all he could say. Wow. Whenever students had free time in Mr. Slinger's class, they were permitted to go to the light bulb lab in the back of the classroom. They expressed their ideas creatively through drawing and writing. Lilly went there often. She had a lot of ideas. She drew pictures of Mr. Slinger, and she wrote stories about him too. During sharing time, Lilly showed her creations to the entire class. "Wow," said Mr. Slinger. That was just about all he could say. Wow. And at the bottom here, she made a big paper. She made a book, and the book is called Big Friendly Mr. Nice Teacher. And I think that that's about Mr. Slinger. When Mr. Slinger had bus duty, Lilly stood in line even though she didn't ride the bus. Lilly raised her hand more than anyone else in the class, even if she didn't know the answer. And she volunteered to stay after school to clap erasers. "I want to be a teacher when I grow up," said Lilly. "Excellent choice," said Mr. Slinger. One Monday morning, Lilly came to school especially happy. She had gone shopping with her Grammy over the weekend. Lilly had a new pair of movie star sunglasses, complete with glittery diamonds and a chain like Mr. Slinger's. She had 3 shiny quarters, and best of all, she had a brand new purple plastic purse that played a jaunty tune when it was opened. Lilly wanted to show everyone. "Not now," said Mr. Slinger. "Listen to our story." Lilly had a hard time listening. Lilly really wanted to show everyone. "Not now," said Mr. Slinger. "Let's be considerate of our classmates, please." Lilly had a hard time being considerate. Lilly really, really wanted to show everyone. "Not now," said Mr. Slinger. "Wait until recess or sharing time." But Lilly could not wait. And remember, that's where we paused yesterday, and that's where we made a prediction. And some of your predictions, you guys said did happen or didn't happen. Like Mario, his prediction was that Lilly was going to be put in timeout. And Mr. Slinger didn't end up putting her in timeout. So that's where we stopped yesterday to make predictions. The glasses were so glittery, the quarters were so shiny, and the purse played such nice music, not to mention how excellent it was for sharing school supplies, or for storing school supplies. "Look," Lilly whispered fiercely. "Look, look, look, look what I've got." Everyone looked, including Mr. Slinger, but he was not amused at all. "I'll just keep your things at my desk until the end of the day," he said. "They'll be safe there, and then you can take them home." Lily's stomach lurched. She felt like crying. Her glasses were gone, her quarters were gone, her purple plastic purse was gone. Lilly longed for her purse all morning. She was even too sad to eat snack. Mr. Slinger served before recess. That afternoon, Lilly went to the light bulb lab. She was still very sad. She thought and she thought and she thought, and then she became angry. And she thought and she thought and she thought some more, and then she became furious. She thought and she thought and she thought a little bit longer, and then she drew a picture of Mr. Slinger. Her picture says, "Big, fat, mean Mr. Slinger, teacher. Wanted by the FBI. P.S. I do not want to be a teacher when I grow up." Right before the last bell rang, Lilly sneaked the drawing into Mr. Slinger's book bag. When all the students were buttoned and zipped and snapped and tied and ready to go home, Mr. Slinger strolled over to Lilly and gave her her purple plastic purse back. "It's a beautiful purse," said Mr. Slinger. "Your quarters are nice and jingly, and those glasses are absolutely fabulous. You may bring them back to school, but only as long as you don't disturb the rest of the class." "I do not want to be a teacher when I grow up," said Lilly, as she marched out of the classroom. We're going to stop there for just a second. Right now, Lilly put the big, fat, mean teacher, Mr. Slinger, in his book bag, and Lilly left school. We are going to make an inference, and when we infer, we already did this with our book, I can't remember. When we infer, we make a guess. We think about what has happened. We think about what we already know about our characters, and our author is not going to tell us this, but we are going to use what we already know to make a guess or to make a prediction, and that's called inferring. You're going to use this page, and Ms. Strohmeyer doesn't have my fancy board here today, but you're going to use this page, and this page says, readers use clues in the story to help them understand what is happening. So that's what we do when we infer. We use clues on our page, we look at the pictures, we look at what the author is telling us to figure out what we think is happening in the story. And this is the question that I want you to answer based on what we read yesterday and based on what we've already read this morning. How do you think Mr. Slinger felt when he read Lily's note? Now, we know that we don't see Mr. Slinger read the note. We end up seeing Lilly go home, and then she feels so bad, and she writes him an apology note. But we want to know, we're using what we know already, and we're using what we know about Mr. Slinger and what we know about Lilly, and we are going to make a guess about how we think Mr. Slinger felt when Lilly left and he ended up going over to his desk. I want you to picture that in your mind. The author doesn't tell us, but we know that Mr. Slinger ends up reading the note, but we don't see him read the note. So I want you to draw a picture of Mr. Slinger reading the note that Lilly left him. And when you draw Mr. Slinger, I want you to show on his face what you think he feels like. What you think Mr. Slinger feels like. And then down here in the lines where you write, I want you to tell me how Mr. Slinger felt. So you're going to show me here, and you're going to tell me here how Mr. Slinger felt when he read Lily's note. Now, this is what you think. So this is not right or wrong. We're not going to figure out when we read, but this is you using what you know already to tell and show how Mr. Slinger felt. Maybe think about how you would feel if Ms. Strohmeyer wrote a mean note like that to you. So I want you to pause the video. I want you to pause this video, and I want you to show me how Mr. Slinger felt, and I want you to tell me how Mr. Slinger felt. Okay? Pause this video and finish this page. And if you're still listening, it means you're ready to keep reading. If you're still listening, it means that you stopped and you made an inference and you wrote on this page how Mr. Slinger felt when he read Lily's note. We're going to keep reading. On the way home, the last thing we read, just so you guys remember, the last thing we read was that Mr. Slinger gave her note back and she stomped out of the classroom. So now Lilly is on her way home and she opened her purse. Her glasses and her quarters were inside, and so was a note from Mr. Slinger, and it said, "Today was a difficult day, and tomorrow will be better." There was also a small bag of tasty snacks at the bottom of the purse. I want you to pay close attention to how Lilly looks right now. How do you think Lily's feeling? Lily's stomach lurched. She felt like crying. She felt simply awful. Lily ran all the way home and told her mother and father everything. Instead of watching her favorite cartoons, Lily decided to sit in the uncooperative chair. She put herself in timeout. I'll stay here a million years longer for Mr. Slinger, she said. Why does everything always happen to me? And now she's counting at the bottom, 1051, 1052. If she's already gotten to 1000, that means that she's been there for a while. That night, Lily drew a new picture of Mr. Slinger and wrote a story about him, too. This is her story. I'm reading it. It's on the yellow page. Lily was really, really sorry, so everyone forgave her, even her parents, even her stinky baby brother, and especially her incredible teacher. And then the sun shined its smiley face down on everyone and everything, even the bugs and the worms. The end. And then she drew a picture. Lily's mother wrote a note. Lily's father baked some tasty snacks for Lily to take to school the next day. I think Mr. Slinger will understand, said Lily's mother. I know he will, said Lily's father. The next morning, Lily got to school early. These are for you, Lily said to Mr. Slinger, because I'm really sorry. Mr. Slinger read the story, and he looked at the picture. And he read the note, and he sampled the snacks. Wow, said Mr. Slinger. That was just about all he could say. Wow. What do you think we should do with this? Asked Mr. Slinger. Could we just throw it away? Asked Lily. He's asking what they should do with the big, fat, meanie teacher note. And Lily said, could we just throw it away? Asked Lily. Excellent idea, said Mr. Slinger. During sharing time, Lily demonstrated the many uses and unique qualities of her purple plastic purse, her shiny quarters, and her glittery movie star sunglasses. Then she did a little performance using them as props. It's called interpretive dance, said Lily. Mr. Slinger joined in. Wow, said the entire class. That was just about all they could say. Wow. Throughout the rest of the day, Lily's purse and quarters and sunglasses were tucked safely inside her desk. She peeked at them often, but did not disturb a soul. I think that means she learned her lesson from yesterday, not to get them out and distract the class. Right before the last bell rang, Mr. Slinger served Lily's snacks to everyone's delight. What do you want to be when you grow up? Asked Mr. Slinger. A teacher, everybody responded. Lily's response was the loudest. Excellent choice, said Mr. Slinger. As the pupils filed out of the classroom, that just means as the students filed out of the classroom, Lily held her purple plastic purse close to her heart. Mr. Slinger was right. It had been a better day. Lily ran and skipped and hopped and flew all the way home. She was so happy. And she really did want to be a teacher when she grew up. That is, when she didn't also want to be a dancer or a surgeon or an ambulance driver or a diva or a pilot or a hairdresser or a scuba diver. Thank you for being awesome readers and for listening to my story 2 times. And thank you so much for pausing your video and finishing your first page. And if for some reason you didn't pause and finish this page, on this page you're drawing a picture and you're telling me how Mr. Slinger felt when he read Lily's note. Now, we don't know how he felt. That wasn't told to us in the story, but we can use what we already know, and we can use what we learned in the story to help us answer that question. Now it is your turn to write your opinion. And remember when we listened to the dot, we talked about our opinion and how when we write our opinion, we tell how we feel. And remember, Ms. Strohmeyer said that my opinion is that yellow is the best color. But Abeldyne or Adrian or some other friends in our class might not like the color yellow, and that's okay because that's my opinion. My opinion is that yellow is the best color. Your opinion might be that blue or pink or purple is the best color. So on our last page of our packet, and to finish reading for this week, which I know you're so excited about, you are going to write your opinion about the best part of Lily's purple plastic purse. So you are going to use what we read. You read this book twice, so hopefully you have a favorite part now. And you are going to stop this video and you are going to complete this page and you are going to draw a picture of the best part of the story, and you are going to write words that tell what the best part of the story was. Ms. Strohmeyer sometimes also calls this writing about your favorite part. So you're going to draw a picture of your favorite part or the best part, and you are going to write about your favorite part or the best part of this story. And you may pause the video and then remember to come back and listen for what Ms. Strohmeyer has to say at the end when you finish. So right now you're writing and drawing about the best part of the story. And if you're listening to Ms. Strohmeyer now, I would love for you to get on Seesaw and I would love for you to share with me what your favorite part or what the best part of Lily's purple plastic purse was, because we have so many friends in our class who have different opinions, and I would love to hear what your opinion is about Lily's purple plastic purse. So make sure you get on Seesaw and tell me about your favorite part. If you finish this and you still have more time for reading this morning, please get on Lexia, and please also make sure that you watch our phonics dance. Awesome job reading this week, friends. I'm so proud of you, and I will see you a little bit later for math.